What's going on, guys? Mika here. Welcome to my channel. So in the last month or so I've been doing a lot of portrait drawing, and because I've decided that I really want to improve drawing portraits with charcoal and graphite, and also in the construction of the portrait, construction of the head, and basically to really get good fundamentals of the shapes and the values and the construction of the head. Now, I've been doing a lot of work from models, from photos, and also I've been doing quite a lot of master studies. Now, what is a master study? It's basically an artwork that was already created, maybe a drawing, usually it's a painting, but you can also do that from drawings from the old masters. So the traditional way is to find an old master like John Singer Sargent or Rembrandt, or maybe some of those Renaissance guys like Caravaggio. Basically that was before the Renaissance, but somewhere around there, and study their drawing by creating a copy of it or your own interpretation of their drawing, because you can learn a lot that way. You can basically see how they've dealt with the shapes of the head, with the form, with the construction, and how they've shaded everything, how they interpret the values to make the whole thing look more realistic and stuff like that. So that's the usual way to do it, but I don't only do studies of old masters. If I find something really nice that I think was executed in a really, in a way that's really professional and really speaks to me on some level, and in a way that really works, I also can do a study of that. So this is an example of a study of charcoal drawing that Steven Bauman did. Steven Bauman is I found him searching for tutorials on YouTube, and he has a YouTube channel, and the guy is has really rock solid fundamentals of drawing portraits. He really does this academic style, and he's really good at it. So I've decided to why only study old masters when I can study like a new master and really learn something from it. So here's the portrait that I did, and I'll be showing you the whole process in a time lapse, because it took actually around 2 to 3 hours. So I'll just speed it up and maybe do some commentary on it, and you can watch it. So enjoy it and let me know what you think. If you have any comments on how I could improve, that would be really awesome. So that's it. Enjoy. Okay, so here I'm actually just starting out. I've created a drawing. I've created a really rough block-in. I've created a block-in and a more precise drawing beforehand, before starting to work with graphite. And at this stage, just to get all the proportions and geometry of the head correctly, and at this stage I'm actually just washing it out so it doesn't interfere with the final drawing. Now at this stage, here I'm starting to block in the landmarks of the portrait. So the main landmarks are usually the eyes and the nose and the lips, because these are the features that really create the likeness, and they also have to be placed correctly, and there's really no room for error here, because if you get the eyes wrong, you can have everything else correct in the portrait, but everything will basically just look weird. So because we're so used to seeing the eyes of other people, that you really have to get the eyes right. Now I'm just starting to block in just these little light washes of basically the darkest darks in the image, basically in the drawing. So I'm creating this washes, if you can call them washes, because they're done with the graphite pencil, of darks in the drawing. And I can always go darker, but it's and I will do that later on when finishing this drawing, but it's much harder to go I really didn't want to erase too much when working on this drawing, so I have to be really careful not to go too dark in the beginning. Now I'm just working in some more on the shapes, and I've really put in this light wash on the cheeks and around the head to maybe create some feeling of depth and maybe make the form turn a bit, because you always want to go from the darkest shadows to the lighter lights and turn the form in the halftones to really get that feeling of three-dimensionality and to convince the viewer that the thing on the drawing, the subject, really has some shape. So that's what I'm doing at this stage, and just checking if the values are at least loosely correct. I can always correct the values later on, but you have to get at least a general landmarks for values in there before going in with the darkest dark. So that's what I'm actually doing at this stage. And you can see that I've used chamois to basically put in a halftone. I've basically blurred the whole drawing to put some tone on the face, because you really don't want to have the light of the paper. I'm working on basically on white paper here. If I was working on a toned paper, that would be much different, because there the paper is already the halftone, but I really wanted to put to like blur and really move around the graphite to get a tone for the face, so that I can get that feeling of it looking a bit more 3D and more convincing, basically. Here I'm just working on a couple of details. I usually don't like to create outlines of the faces too much, but it was done in the study, and since I'm doing a study, I have to like stick to the plan of the original artist to basically mimic what they did and learn something from it, to see how they've dealt with different challenges on the drawing. So yeah, here I'm just refining the shapes a bit, working a bit on the values of the eyes here, for example, and basically trying to make the form turn a bit, because the whole head is basically like somewhere like an egg shape, and the hair also has its own shape. So you have to be really careful while doing this, because, for example, like people who really know how to create good drawings, you could hand that drawing to a sculptor and they would be able to create a sculpture from it. So the idea here is to really be mindful and try to create something that looks a bit 3D. Now, keep in mind that I'm still learning, and this is by no means perfect, but I really like to do studies like this from time to time, to basically see how other artists deal with the problems that we all face when drawing a face, at least trying to create a really good representation of the forms and what's out there. So here I'm just putting in some highlights and basically finishing it, and this is what the finished drawing looked like. It's not too polished, but I'm pretty happy with it. And of course there's a lot of room for improvement, but this is just a part of my journey, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions of how I could improve my work, I would really appreciate them, so feel free to share them in the comments. And if you like the content, subscribe to my channel. So that's it, thanks for watching, and I'll hopefully see you in the next video. Bye.